Think about it. If you're spending $5 on coffee every morning, $15 on lunch from a food truck, $4 on overpriced transportation, $2 on snacks, and another $1.40 on useless subscriptions, that adds up to $10,000 a year. That's how money disappears for most people. It feels like it just vanishes. But really, it's about not having the right habits when it comes to handling your paycheck. The first and most important thing you need to do is find your financial baseline. When it comes to personal finance, most people feel like it's too much work, but that's why most people struggle. 64% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck because they commit one of the worst financial mistakes. In psychology, they call it mental accounting. Basically, it's when you mentally categorize your money instead of physically writing it down. In May, you might receive a tax refund from the IRS, and you mentally categorize this as extra fund money. You get excited and start spending it. A new PS5, a new TV, or Mr. Magical Lamp. The problem is just money is the same as your regular income, you just paid too much in taxes, and the IRS is just returning it. That's the key. Learning how to manage money wisely in my early 20s is exactly what allowed me to become the first millionaire in my family. In this video, I'm going to share simple steps I used to follow every single time I got paid. If you start applying them, you'll not only save more, but also slowly build real wealth. And the best part, you don't need to work any harder than you already are. So picture this, payday arrives. The very first thing you need to do is separate wants from needs. Sounds simple, right? But trust me, it's one of the hardest things to actually do, especially today. Many people are so used to a certain lifestyle that even small comforts feel impossible to give up. The problem is those little treats are what rob you of financial freedom in the long run. Even if you're convinced this doesn't apply to you, I'd still challenge you to try this exercise. Grab a piece of paper, draw 2 columns, and label them wants and needs. You might be surprised at what's quietly draining your wallet. Next, pull out your recent bank statements. Ideally, look at the past 6 months and highlight what you spend money on every single month. Ignore one-off purchases for now. Unless you're constantly buying random stuff, that won't matter much. What I want you to focus on are these small, recurring expenses that pile up over time. Once you've listed them, sort them into the 2 columns. Needs are things like rent, utilities, insurance. The rule of thumb is if you can survive without it, it's not a need. Wants are everything else. Restaurants, bowling, golf, Netflix, all the fun stuff. Once you've got that down, figure out how much each column costs you per month. Let's start with needs. Let's say rent, insurance, and utilities come to about $1,300 a month. That's your financial minimum, what it takes to get by. Now subtract that number from your income to see what's left. Many people say your minimum should be less than 50% of your income, but honestly, I think it should be closer to 25%. Knowing your financial baseline builds the foundation for the next step. What would it feel like to have saved up to 6 months worth of expenses in your bank account at all times? Imagine the kind of freedom and peace of mind you'd have knowing that if you ever got sick, lost your job, or get injured, you'd be completely fine. And don't think of needs as fixed. You can usually cut them down while still living comfortably. Sure, you need a car, but do you really need an expensive one? Same with housing. Some apartments, especially downtown, are insanely overpriced. This is where you have to weigh your options. Would public transport be cheaper? Maybe. Could you move somewhere more affordable? Possibly. What if you lived with someone for a year, saved a ton of money, and used it later for your dream home? Why not? Look, maybe you don't want to cut costs, and that's fine, but at least figure out where you could save without destroying your quality of life. If you can't lower expenses, then you'll need to raise your income, and that's totally possible, either through a promotion or a side hustle. Remember, your earning potential is always greater than your saving potential. I get that cutting needs down to 25% of your income sounds insane, like rich boomer advice, but I know what it's like to earn very little. I didn't grow up wealthy. It took me years to get my needs down to 25% of my paycheck. But trust me, if I could do it, You can too, especially now with all the online side hustles available. So don't take this as me saying you're poor, just make more money. I know it's not that simple. Treat the 25% rule as a goal, not a judgment.
Once you've got your wants and needs columns figured out, subtract them from your income. Ideally, your wants should be under 25% because you'll need money left over to move ahead. The second step for your money? A high-yield savings account. In an ideal world, that leaves you with 50% of your paycheck. Most people will tell you to just dump all of it into savings, but that alone won't build wealth. My advice? Put 20% into a high-yield savings account, and not at your everyday bank. It's too tempting to just pull the money out. Rates vary depending on when you're watching this video, but right now, mine earns about 4% annually. That's way better than the 0.05% you get with a checking account. And yeah, some of you are probably thinking, I know an account that pays 7%. That's great if you're willing to lock your money away for a set time and the bank is rock solid. But remember, a savings account isn't meant to make you rich. It's your safety net. If you can't access the money in an emergency, it defeats the purpose. I can't stress this enough. Having an emergency fund is non-negotiable. I know you've heard it a million times, but it's good advice. Life isn't a smooth ride, and unexpected things will happen. That little pot of gold will always be there when you need it. If you get sick and can't work, or your car breaks down, it saves you. But it's only for real emergencies, not when you're broke on a Friday night and craving beer. And here's the thing. When something goes wrong, and it will, most people can't handle it. They end up taking out loans, paying insane interest rates, and sinking even deeper into debt. That's why you need an emergency fund. How much? At least 3 to 5 months worth of your bare minimum expenses. Even better if you stretch it to 6 months. Once you've saved 20% of your paycheck and hit that goal, you can start freeing up more money for the next steps. By then, you should ideally have about 30% of your income left. So what do you do with the rest? There's only one place where you'll get a guaranteed return on your investment. Let me explain. Normally, if someone promises guaranteed returns, I'd tell you to run the other way. That's scam talk. But here it's real. I'm talking about paying off high interest debt. Why gamble on stocks for 8 to 10% potential gains when you can lock in a 25% return by wiping out a debt that's draining you every single day? It's like trying to eat healthy and exercise while ignoring a parasite stealing all your nutrients. The doctor's first step is to kill the parasite. Same here. Destroy your debt. There are two main strategies. The avalanche method tackles the highest interest debt first, the most logical approach. Say you've got 3 debts, $5,000 on a credit card at 20%, $1,500 borrowed from family at 0%, and a $2,500 car loan at 15%. If you throw $500 a month at them using Avalanche, you'd clear the credit card in about 13 months, paying $515 in interest. Then you move on to the car loan, another 5 months, and about $908 in interest. Finally, you knock out the family loan in 3 months. Total, 21 months, and just $613 in interest. The snowball method, on the other hand, focuses on the smallest balances first. It feels good psychologically since you see progress faster, but it costs more, about 23 months and over $1,700 in interest. So, in the long run, Avalanche wins. Once you've built your safety net and paid off toxic debt, you can finally redirect that extra 50% toward wealth building. That means investing, some into tax-advantaged accounts, some into stocks, depending on your goals. So let's recap. Every payday, see your income as an opportunity to strengthen your financial future. Start by paying yourself first. Funnel a set percentage into savings or investments before spending a dime. Cover your essentials, rent, bills, food. Put aside money for debt repayment. Keep a small fun fund to enjoy life without guilt. Review your subscriptions, cut unnecessary expenses, and always track where your money goes. And don't forget to stash a little for unexpected costs. Even $20 to $50 every paycheck adds up. These small, consistent moves create stability, flexibility, and peace of mind.
Treat payday not as a chance to splurge, but as a chance to build habits that your future self will thank you for.